The limitless the limitless nature of one's potential is only stifled by the inability to reach for success, and to reach out to those around us in need. Today, we welcome Buffalo, New York singer-songwriter Tyler Westcott and Andy Carey of Rochester, New York featured cause Reach Advocacy to discuss our limitless potential as human beings. My name is Amanda Ashley, and this is Afternoon Cocktail, episode 105, Reach. Welcome. Tyler, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me.
I love your collection of instruments behind you.
Oh
I
man,
feel like,
it's the tip of the iceberg.
yeah. Oh, I'm
It's on the
sure.
wall,
You play every
but
single one of those?
not enough. No, but badly, yes.
I love it badly. I know. Well, someday, if I in a perfect world could have like every instrument in my house, it would be in my living room, sit in my living room. But well, Tyler, why don't you kick us off with one of your jams? What song are you gonna play for us?
I'm gonna play a song I wrote about a local character from my hometown who went around and collected pop cans on his bicycle. It's a song that's gonna be on my new solo CD called Pop Can Bob.
I love it. Take it away.
Now, Pop Can Bob is a man from Livingston County. He smokes cigarettes and he rides his bicycle and he searches for his aluminum bounty. He leads a simple life and always keeps on task. Does he have a house, kids, or a wife? People often ask. He provides a public service. Yes, he cleans the streets and the roads. Seemingly he's impervious. Yes, he works in the elements, in the heat or the cold. Looks like a hillbilly, he's a little unkempt and misunderstood. What is he up to really, or is he just trying to do some good? Is he raising money for his alcohol habit, or is he just trying to keep the world clean? Dodging cans people throw from their trucks like a rabbit. Damn, why are people so mean? Well, you see him here and you see him there. It seems like there's someone like him in every town, everywhere. In pursuit of the bottle deposits a bed many pounds, and the world's so much cleaner. Pop can bob around. And it leaves me asking, why do people throw their money out the window? 5 cent, 10 cent returnables in the ditches everywhere you go. Yes, in my book, Hawking Bob is a hero, even if he's doing it just to get a beer. Next time you look, have no fear, oh, be glad like I am. He is here. Hawking Bob is a man from Livingston County. Smokes cigarettes and he rides his bicycle and he searches for his aluminum bounty.
Yay, I love it.
Thank you so
So,
much.
Tyler, you grew up in Livingston County, as your
Yeah, I
song
did.
says.
Yep.
But you fled Livingston for Buffalo. What made you make the transition?
Well, so I grew up in a very, very small town in the southwestern tip of Livingston County. Hunt or Nunde, New York. It's the kind of place where you have to keep zooming out until you hit a town that somebody recognizes. You know, so near Mount Morris in Geneseo, I always just say the railroad bridge in Letchworth State Park. That's where I grew up, right underneath there. You
I
know,
love it.
um,
What a
but anyways,
beautiful place to grow up, though. It's so
no, it
pretty
was
out there.
beautiful. I took it for granted. I had the park right there, and I could ride my bike there. And then there's just not a whole lot of musical opportunities out in Hunt, New York. And I ever since I was in high school, I always just wanted to leave and travel. And I always loved traveling. And I did a quick trip down to New York City and lived there for a couple months. And then I just got bit by the city bug, and I wanted a little bit more uh, up tempo and diversity in my life. And so I moved to Buffalo about 10 years ago. I followed a girl I was hanging out with at the time, and moved in, and got a string of terrible jobs, and fell in love with Buffalo.
Very nice. Buffalo's a cool city. I always enjoy going to visit there. Um, so Tyler, when did you like begin? So you were just playing was a steel guitar? What do
It's
you?
a resonator guitar, resophonic guitar. It's a national resonator. Yeah, so like a steel guitar, when you think of a steel guitar, you think of more of like a flat thing that you play with a slide. There's like pedal steel guitars, there's lap steel guitars. You
Mm,
could call this a steel guitar, but I like to call it a resonator.
gotcha. Cool. So I mean, like, what was the first instrument you picked up? You have all those instruments behind you. I mean, when did you start writing your own music?
First instrument I picked up was the recorder, but then seriously the trumpet. And I learned in elementary school the trumpet, and then when I was a little older, 13, I started playing guitar, and then at 16 I started playing banjo, and I was also playing a little bit of piano in there, and not very well, but um, I started writing music in about sixth grade. Yeah,
Yeah. Nice.
not
So I
good
mean,
music.
I know I think about like some of my like first songs and
I
it's
hate
funny.
my mom. So angry and angsty and young and full of it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but
So I mean, how did you stumble upon your sound? I mean, I don't know, when I listen to your music, which is so cool, I love everything about your lyrical content, your yeah, just your general sound. It makes me I've, spent some time like going back and forth down south, and it always makes me think of like Memphis or being like on an old broken down porch type thing, and listen to somebody, or like New Orleans, like listening to somebody just playing like on their porch kind of thing. Like, how
yeah.
did you come across the sound? Did you grow up with musicians in your house that played that type of music?
So well, my folks introduced me to a lot of really great music. My mother was into kind of the softer side of folk and folk rock, and even a little bit of kind of hippie music, psychedelia and stuff like. So I got the Grateful Dead and Arlo Guthrie, and John Prine and Pete Seeger, playing in my house in the kitchen growing up. And Peter, Paul, and Mary was the first concert they ever took me to, and so I guess, yeah, I guess I was destined to be a folkie from the get go. But then my stepfather introduced me to Louis Armstrong and Miles Davis and then the Clash as well, and and like Green Day and stuff like that. And then my brother was just blasting hip hop constantly, and then it ended up being in like ska and punk rock you know um and metal. And so I had a good cocktail of things to work with.
Mhm.
Um and and uh and yeah, and then I had a good friend in high school who really turned me on to a lot of the old blues and kind of country blues stuff. A lot of the old uh blind black blues player guys, like Blind Blake and Blind Lemon Jefferson, and et cetera, et cetera, all those characters. And really, the roots of the blues. And we kind of I traded him, my punk rock knowledge for his blues, knowledge. And then yeah, I went to college in the Finger Lakes, and a very short stint. Gave it the old college try, and quickly found out it wasn't for me. Should have taken a gap year, because I wasn't ready. But I did learn a heck of a lot. I took a jazz guitar class or two, and a little bit of music theory and a little bit of recording, and I kind of fell in love with jazz guitar, and definitely developed a lot more of a vocabulary to work from. And also, when I was a senior in high school, I went to New Orleans, and for the first time, and I just fell in love with
Yeah,
all of the
right.
music and the culture and the food and just everything about it. And yeah, so between that and the way I was brought up, and then you know just and then spending time in New York City too, like, really influenced me a lot. And just the whole busking and street music thing really
Yeah,
informed
I
me
love
quite
all
a bit.
that. New Orleans, like the last time I was there, I've been itching to go back since. But yeah, the last time I was there, like by the end of the week, I was just like we ended up extending our stay for like 2 days, 2 more days. And
As one
then
does.
like yeah, by the end of the week, I'm like looking on Craigslist to see like what like apartments cost. And I'm like, oh my God, I was just like so in love with everything about it, and the street performances too. Like Beau and I had got on the streets by the Steamboat. We like were playing in between like every time like they would let on and let off, and we just had a freaking blast. It was great. But
Yeah.
yeah, anyway, I yeah, it's very cool to hear all about this from you. So I mean, aside from, I mean, we're hearing you solo today, but you also perform with your band Folk Faces that you've also recorded albums with, and you're also performing as guitarist for one of our alumni, Catherine Koch, right? Am I
Cook,
pronouncing
cook.
Cook? Okay, I always pronounce her last name wrong, but she's wonderful, and that's
Absolutely.
a little bit different of a sound for you too. How does playing with your band versus your writing and performing solo versus your musical input with Catherine? How does that all, in your opinion, make you a better musician?
Well, I'll start with the band. And I'm very fortunate to have them. They are some of the most talented musicians and most versatile, and just up for anything, willing to drive through the night and just go and do it and do what they love and do it well. And I appreciate them so much, and they make me sound so much better. And we have so much fun playing together and traveling together. And and yeah, I love my band, and I'm so excited to get back to work with them. We're looking forward to recording, and yes, playing with all the people I've played with over the years. The band has taken many forms. I'm the only original member of the group at this point, but everyone who's been a part of the band or through the band has helped educate me musically, and I've learned so much from all of them, and it's invaluable to me.
Sure.
But playing solo is, there's a lot of freedom in it. You can just get in the car and go and play, and it's, you can make a living doing it, um but I don't know. There's there's things you can do. You can try out new things at a solo gig, because no one else has
Mm.
to know all the chord changes, and you can
It's easier and
yeah,
harder
I
in
don't know.
some ways, right? Like
It
I've
is much harder. I would rather play better music than make more money any day. But
yeah.
and I think that that's what happens when you play with a band, and but you can take a lot more gigs as a solo artist, and it's fun developing that sound, and over the last year being completely solo, for quite a long time. I tried to develop that, and I learned a bunch of other people's music, and I just tried to learn as much as I could, and like develop kind of a one-man band repertoire, and yeah, I don't know, I was really enjoying that, and the Catherine thing is super rewarding. I'm actually playing bass in that band, and
Oh,
we just had her album release party that has been rescheduled 3 times
this poor thing. I saw that. I
at
know.
Sportsman's over the weekend, and we had a great show. It was a sold out show, and we practiced more than any band I've ever been in, and it was super fun. Um, and it's interesting for me to play an instrument that isn't my strongest, like we have a Buffalo Hall of Fame drummer, an absolutely killer guitar player who's a good friend of mine, Sean McNamara, Jeff Schaller on the drums, and then Catherine, who's been singing and writing and performing for many many moons, and then me, who's, oh well, I guess I'm gonna try to play bass now. uh, but it's really fun, and Catherine's my neighbor and my buddy, and
Aw.
we were kind of potted up during the quarantine, because we lived right around the corner from each other, so it was good to play music and have somebody to talk to and drink with.
Yeah, totally. That's cool that you guys live so close. I want to come hang out. That sounds like
Yeah.
fun.
Well,
Um,
you've been to our neighborhood. You've played at Hot Mama's Canteen.
yeah, yeah. Did you used to play there too?
Yeah, I used
I
to
think
work
that's
there. Used
where
to play there. Used to drink there.
oh, I love Val and Glenn. They're
Yeah,
such good
shout out to
people.
Val and Glenn.
Yeah. Always shouties to Hot Mamas. I love them. They're
Yeah,
the greatest.
yeah.
Um, yeah, so awesome. So with your solo music, so you've toured before with Folk Faces, right? Like I saw you open for Cage the Elephant before. That was one of the like
Wow.
names that stuck out for me.
Yeah,
Yeah, I love
yeah.
them.
We won a competition thing. This was earlier, in the band, and we literally got 15 minutes of fame at Canalside and got to open for Kerfuffle, the first Kerfuffle, and down there, and yeah, they were the headliner. So
That's awesome. Yeah, they're so I've seen them in concert, I think two, possibly three times. And they like I just love them. Last show I saw
yeah.
was them with Beck and it was killer.
Oh yeah, yeah,
But
nice.
yeah. Very cool. So like have you actually toured by yourself before? Or
I've
just
done solo tours before. It gets a little lonely, You got to bring a buddy along to sell some merch and to have a beer with at the end of the night, because otherwise you're just kind of, the Lone Ranger out there, and it can, you know, it can be a little boring. It's kind of more fun, bombing around the world with a bunch of weirdos, um, but yeah, no, I've toured solo a little bit, and I travel often throughout the Finger Lakes, and the state and get down to Pennsylvania and around a little bit, but mostly with the band and yeah.
And Tyler, talk to us about, I mean, you have Folk Faces. You started a festival, was it 6 years ago?
This year will be the 5th year.
Okay. Tell
Yeah.
us about it. So the next one coming up is in the fall.
Yes. So Folk Faces Fest is a live music and camping event, and we host touring national and regional acts of mostly kind of a roots music variety, and we have usually 4 days of music, a couple of stages. Workshops, food vendors, an artist village, and then art installations, and all kinds of activities. And yeah, it's been really really fun. We hosted up at Cherry Hill Campground in Darien Center, New York, right across the street from the theme park, amusement park there, Darien Lake,
Sounds
and
fun.
yeah, we've been able to host some really cool people over the years, and I'm so excited for this year. This year is September 30th through August 3rd, and yeah, it's a space. We're doing a space theme this year, um,
Awesome.
space and aliens, and we're gonna get real weird with it. And
Like, what does that mean? Like, everybody dresses up, or like it's just like
you'll have
decked
to come
out?
see. You'll have
I
to come
will.
check it out. No, yes. I mean, there'll be a costume contest. There will be art installations on the theme. People will probably, tailor some of their songs or sets to the theme, and we're just gonna get real strange and goofy with it, and it's lots of fun, and it really shows how great of a community we have. I try to just, book what I love and curate it, and people have, I think people see that and they come and they're like, I've never heard of this, but I know it's gonna be good. I trust Tyler. He'll book something good. So
That's
so
awesome.
I'm very fortunate to have the community who trusts me to put on a good party, and yeah. And we
So,
and
oh,
go ahead.
sorry. No,
No,
I
it's
was
fine.
gonna ask, with, obviously like COVID bans are loosening up. I mean, is there any restrictions like regarding like you have to be vaccinated or like show proof of like a COVID test, or is it just like, you're at your own risk kind of thing?
We highly recommend that folks get their vaccinations and that they either do that or show a test within a week of coming, a negative test. And yeah, and we're optimistic about the fall and hoping that things are opening back up, and everyone's getting all vaxxed up and we can get back to doing the stuff that we love again and not have to worry about everyone's safety and health as much. And yeah, last year we did a very very reduced event with only 50 tickets sold, and and we worked very closely with the health department, and it was a success to me because no one got sick. No one got sick, and that's all that really matters. And yeah, I think that that's very important, and it's a good thing to keep in mind. And yeah, and it's scary times, and yes, I highly encourage everyone to get their vaccine and get a test before coming.
It is like scary times. And it's also like, I don't know, I'm so excited that things are, I mean, I just got fully vaccinated as of last
Same.
week,
Me
and
too.
yay, congrats. Like I think I don't know. I'm just like ready to move on. And for
We
me,
all
like
are.
yeah, I know, right?
We
I
all
guess
are.
that's
We're
pretty
ready.
much everybody's ready. I
That
just
doesn't
can't
mean
wait to
it's
get
gone
back.
away, though. It doesn't mean
Yeah.
it's gone away.
No, 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 no.
It's
That's
still there,
absolutely right. I just want to see live shows again, though. Like honestly, like I just bought tickets to go see Glass Animals at Art Park, and
Nice.
in August, and I think that's probably going to be like the first big show since all this happened, and I just can't wait. I just really like. I'm excited for summer and to see shows again and to be
I
around
feel good about
musicians.
outdoor stuff too.
I do too.
You know.
Yeah. I definitely outdoor stuff, but like my boyfriend's Sublime tribute band, like I went last week or 2 weeks ago. They had a show here at Flower City in the city, and that was cool too, like even with mass, like I just want to be, around good energy and music. It's so important for me in my case, like my mental health kind of like depends on it.
Yeah,
So I know I'm not alone on that as a musician or as a music lover.
I've had a couple great shows at Flower City,
Yeah.
over the last little bit here, and yeah, and it's a little different, than we're used to, but it's still so fun and rewarding and good to see everybody. Yeah, shout
Yeah.
out to Matt Green and Flower City Station.
Definitely. Yeah. It's a step in the right direction. We hope. So
Right.
we'll see.
Yeah.
Um, Tell us about, you said you have, when's your album coming out? So you are working and will be releasing an album when?
So I finished it. I recorded it. It's done. I did it over the pandemic, and I released my first single on Friday. And first, I'm gonna put out an EP, a 4-song EP. And I do not have a date for that yet. Basically, just I got to get my art together, and get some CDs printed up, and I do not have a date set for that yet. But very soon I will have a EP and then a full length to follow, and yeah, the EP will be called Pandemic Summer, and I'm not sure what the full length will be yet, but 13 original songs I wrote. Yeah, I wrote all of them. I played, I think, 9 instruments on it, and I'm gonna do the art for it too, and I'm really excited about it. I've never really made a record just by myself with nobody else on it, and so usually I hire someone else who does things better than I do, on the record. But it was a lesson in isolation. So
Yeah,
um,
fantastic. I think that sounds awesome. Yeah,
yeah,
that's definitely like a big pat on the back. Like, yeah, I did that, like
all me. Yeah,
all
right.
me.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
cool.
But yeah, I also miss everybody. So,
Sure. Well, soon,
but
Tyler, soon we'll be back in action, right? I have to ask you, and I'm sorry, Andy, that we're like going over time a little bit, but I today's theme is reach, and it really in Andy's honor, and Reach Advocacy's honor. But so your first song that you performed for us was about a homeless man. Can you talk to us a little bit about? I mean, so that was in Livingston County, right? We see homeless people all over in our city here in Rochester, in Buffalo. I mean, in your opinion, how, in what little ways do you feel like we could do our part in reaching out to those in need and in order to I don't know, make an impact overall? Like how in small ways can we each band together to make a greater impact?
well, I mean, I think volunteering is always a good thing. I think that organizing events, food and clothing drives is always a good thing. And as artists, I think that playing charity events is always a positive experience. And and yeah, and then on a just human level, I think it's just important to look people in the eye when you see them on the street, and
Mhm.
say, hey, I'm sorry, just try to be a little kinder in your everyday interactions, with the guy with the sign, because he's a human too. And just keep in mind that that could be us, and
Yeah, it's very true. I think it's easy to dehumanize people that, like, or to slap labels when we
sure.
really don't know each other's stories, right? So,
Yeah, well, that's the story I told. I'm not sure, if he had a home or not. I just, saw him riding his bike around collecting pop cans every day. So I don't know, what his story was, but he was just a character, and every town has characters,
Hmm. Totally.
and he wasn't hurting anybody, and that's the whole point of that story.
I love it. Well, thank you for sharing your music and your brain. I wish you all the luck on your new release, and I look forward to hearing it. Thank you so much, Tyler.
Thank
Really
you.
good to see you and talk to you.
All right.
Andy Carey, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Such a pleasure. So you've been busy. You were
Yeah,
just I just saw you on the news. I'm like, hey, I know that guy, or I'm soon to know him.
yeah,
Andy, tell us a little bit about who you are, your background, and your journey that inspired your role with Reach Advocacy.
yeah. I'll tell you a little bit, but I really want to say how much I appreciated Tyler's song and his words. That was really awesome.
Me
And I
too.
almost feel like I could put our social work world right into his ideas about learning from other band members and collaboration. That was very cool. I appreciate it. So yeah, I guess I'm a social worker. Been kind of the burnt out social worker type, working real hard, feeling like I'm have a little shovel in the midst of an avalanche of issues. And then in about 2015, there was a homeless crisis where a lot of people who were living in tents were told they had to move, and a large group of the community came together and decided that we were going to treat people with a little more dignity and respect and find a nice way to do shelter and look at permanent housing. And that's when we came up with Reach Advocacy. What I love about it is it's just a giant collaboration of some of the most unlikely partners that you could ever imagine. And each winter we put together a shelter. So we usually take an old building, fix it up with volunteers, and then fill it with folks that normally wouldn't go into our shelter system. So they're kind of folks that, stereotypically you'd see out on the streets, a lot of mental health and addiction issues. And really that's the group of people we like working with. And we've had an amazing run of it. Now we're doing hotels due to COVID, and that's been a great way to shelter people. But in the past, we had done, I guess, 6 years of it. And we have a different group come in every night to serve dinner, different organization from the suburbs, from the city, families. And I think that's really had a profound impact on how we run things. Just having people serving dinner to folks that they see out on the streets, the homeless, having real interactions, learning that everyone's human, we're all in this together. And that also kind of changes the mentality of each shelter. Each winter, the shelter kind of becomes its own little community. People really help each other. And then we, of course, have social work supports and stuff to deal with issues if people want to. And then also to find housing if that's something they're looking for. So I've really enjoyed it because it's almost barrier free. We just ask that people don't use on the premises. And yeah, there's no eligibility requirements. We just get to help people the way we've always wanted to help people. And that's carried, in COVID, I'm lucky because we get to go out on the streets and do it. So we can walk North Clinton and Jefferson Ave and bring services directly to people with no eligibility requirements and just helping out. So that's Reach, and Reach has grown. We now have kind of a threefold mission. We do emergency shelter. We're working on a tiny home village, and we do a lot of advocacy. So pushing state policymakers, county, city, just because we believe housing is a human right. So we rarely call people homeless anymore. We call them housing deprived. And yeah, so that's kind of the summary of how I got involved. I'm now the co-chair of Reach, and I enjoy everyone's work.
I love it. I have so many questions. So, well, the first, I want to know, do you recall the very first time you had been in the presence of a homeless person and what that made you feel?
Yeah, I think I was pretty young. I used to go down, and I have a lot of family in New York City, and I'd run into people, Grand Central, Was always a little scared at first, and not knowing, who are these people. And I really like Tyler's song because I love how you don't really know who you're looking at and how they live and what they're doing. And I think there was so much mystery to it. And it really, when I saw some people sleeping on benches, and then I'd see it in Rochester, and it really, some reason, just upset me that people had to be out on benches or out on the street, or that there couldn't be a more comfortable way of doing that.
Mhm.
So I think it started pretty early, although it wasn't, a career focus or anything. It was just a
Sure.
concern. So.
I asked that because I wonder like what impact maybe that had on your career choice, like and where you ended up with your career choice, where you ended up today, but also the heart that you have that you put behind everything that you do. I remember like I grew up in Long Island, so I used to go into New York City a lot as a child. And I specifically always like recall like around Christmas time, like when I was a kid, I would bring like whatever spare change I had and keep it in my pocket so that I would, give something to any of the homeless people. But then it becomes a matter of, wow, there's so many people, like how do I ration like what little bit I have to contribute as a child, right? And it
Right.
makes you question. You see people on, like you're saying, on benches and tents, just kind of like in a corner of a, like in alleys and like, just on the street and doorways, and then like I, fast forward in life and I, drive every time I make that left onto like Goodman here in Rochester, there's now like it
Yeah.
used to be like one person, now there's two people. You just see it grow over the years. And I mean, addiction and I mean, there's many reasons that could lead to somebody becoming homeless, right? But I mean, why do you believe there's such an influx like continuously, even with programs like yours? And I mean, I know like I've interviewed quite a few different housing shelters for just specifically for women, specifically like person-centered housing. They said their demographic was more like white males, right? So, I mean, you see these people in all of our communities, and there is help out there. Why do we still see so much of it, you think?
Yeah, and that's a great question. And it really comes down, in my opinion, my view of things, is really kind of a systemic failure that continues to go on and on. So, there's a lot of people that the treatment models we use don't work for mental health and addiction. There's a lot of, I think, especially in Rochester, New York, we're really, we're dealing with extreme poverty as well. And so the housing stock isn't as good. The education system wouldn't be as good as it should be. A lot of rap sheets and criminal issues. And I think all those things start to compound themselves. And then also, if you're growing up with scarcity, not that everyone who's homeless come from all different walks of life, believe me,
Mm,
but it's just kind of this overwhelming systemic issue that builds on itself. And then also at the same time, I think that we as a public still view addiction and mental health and homelessness and poverty as some sort of moral failing or something, even though it's clearly not. But I think we still look at it that way, and we forget that the people we have are people, and that we really need to be a community and come together and figure this out as a group, rather than just ignoring and allowing for it. I guess that's what always amazes me, is that we're okay with it for the most part, that there are homeless people and that there are people who are suffering. And it's never been the top priority that I've seen on any political advertising or anything like that.
So, like with all the housing that's available through programs like yours, and like I had mentioned, person-centered housing sticks out in my mind. Um, I mean, do you ever feel that fear that or get questioned from outsiders that maybe you're enabling some of these people because you're giving them you're giving them all these resources, but what about those people that don't progress, or they're just kind of, they don't want to make those changes in their life, even though they have great resources to help them. For those that maybe want to dismiss that or can't get themselves out of addiction, how do you where do you draw the line?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting thing. So a lot of times, folks might not be ready for housing. They may not want housing. And I'm cool with that. We just try and make life as safe as possible and, make sure they have supports around them. And also, I think we really have to believe that some of the practices we use as social workers actually work. So there's, techniques that you use that are evidence-based, like motivational interviewing and just planting seeds to see if, that eventually the person may want to change their life course. And then the reality is some won't. And that's okay too. They still should have their basic needs met, in my opinion.
Mhm.
And live safely. So then we really focus on kind of a harm reduction model, making sure we can do as little harm to yourself and others as possible, keeping yourself as safe as possible, and really kind of pushing that with people. And that's okay, because sometimes, diseases are a roller coaster and addiction's a roller coaster, and sometimes you do well and sometimes you may not. And sometimes it might be a really long time before you find recovery, if ever. And but you still should be treated with dignity. And so that's what we focus on. Very patient approach, which doesn't work well with a lot of models. A lot of people want things done very quickly, 30 days, 90 days, 6 months, a year. If it takes us years, that's fine. We'll hang on for the ride and just hang out.
I love it. So do you guys also offer like services to, like, let's say somebody is highly addicted, and they're like, I need help. I want to get my life together. Like I want to get myself out of this. Do you have social workers that could provide assistance for that could guide them in the right direction to getting the help they need?
Yeah, that's gotten so much better than it used to be. It used to be that someone would come, they'd be crying, they want help desperately. We'd fill out some applications, and I say, I hope I can find you when there's a bed open in a month, that type of thing. And it was really hard. Especially, I can't imagine how hard it was on the person, because it was hard on the social workers who couldn't
Yeah.
help immediately. Nowadays, we have really good systems like open access, some other places where if someone comes to us, we can usually get someone into a detox program or rehab within the day, within 24 hours. And that's really exciting for me, so that you can, when someone decides they're ready, you could actually help. And
Amazing.
that's always
Yeah.
a good thing. And
I
I've
think
been really happy with that improvement.
I think that's, like, to me, like, that stands out as being like the most important service that we need more of, like, obviously there's people with mental health issues, like, just getting people that help that they clearly need for their health. Aside from, I mean, housing, yes, obviously a basic need and it's very fundamental and important, but like, I definitely think, like, in the end, to maintain that housing, learning to maintain your life and to see that there's beauty to it, right? And that there's beautiful, not only is there beauty to life, but there's beautiful people to help you get out of your hole.
Right.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just blabbering. Tell us more about your tiny homes community project. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool. It took me a while to be convinced of it, because I'm kind of more, more people I can fit in one spot to work with, the better. And then, but the community model and this idea that it's really, really thinking about some of people's symptoms, where community living is very hard, apartment buildings are very hard, especially if you have some trauma issues. So it's really, that's what originally sold me, was kind of its ability to accommodate people who may not use other housing. And then my kind of overall belief that you really need a wide continuum. You need options, all sorts of options, from tents to hotels to tiny homes to apartment buildings, whatever it is, because something's going to fit somebody. And so we're really excited that we can kind of build a community that protects itself, looks out for each other, builds that strength of community, but isn't forced to be in the same building with your neighbor, that kind of thing. So we're really excited about that. We have some land that we're looking at. We're raising money to try and put it together so we can break ground and start building some little houses. And then hopefully it'll be a model that can be used all over the place. And that's what we're excited about as well.
Andy, do you ever work together like with other local organizations? Like do you ever think about maybe banding with, like person-centered housing or like some of these women's shelters to make maybe like a broader impact? And, like obviously you guys are doing amazing. And I think each of your programs are fantastic, and there can never be enough help, right? So, right. But like together, like to maybe do some type of event in the future, is that something that's ever on, the idea list?
Yeah, we would love to do that. We do a lot of collaborating with other agencies. We actually started out with PCHO, and they kind of went one. And so we worked closely with them. We worked closely with the shelter system. I think like Tyler was, when he was describing a band, all these different members kind of come in and come out, and we learn so much from each other. And I think that's a real model that we've been pushing. So like with the hotel initiative, that was House of Mercy, Open Door Mission, Reach, MC Collaborative, Food Link. We bring as many people in as possible so we can all use our strengths to help the folks that we're looking to help. And I love the more collaboration, the better. There are a lot of amazing people doing amazing service in Rochester. And the more we work together, the better. And even when it's short projects, you learn a lot from each other. And I like that. So
absolutely. Yeah. There's definitely power in collaboration. That's for sure. Andy, how can we do our part in helping your cause? I mean, what could we donate? How could we spread the word?
Yeah, a couple things. I guess the Reach Advocacy Facebook. Deb does a great job keeping it up to speed on what our needs are, what we're looking for, that type of thing. We have people who serve meals, who give us lunches, who collect hygiene items. That's a great spot for those kind of really practical things. And then I think the other thing that'd be really helpful is just that awareness that there is a serious homeless issue out there, that there are folks just like us. It's funny that Tyler brought up the idea of cleaning up the aluminum cans. I often call the guys the street cleaners, and they're people too. So when you see them, give them a smile, give them a wave. Don't negate other people. And I think that kind of changing your mentality about that kind of advocacy goes a long ways. So.
Sure. There's a lot of power in acknowledgement. That's for sure. And what was your website, Andy? Where could we be directed?
So it's reachadvocacy.org, I believe. If you just Google Reach Advocacy, it comes up.
Well, fantastic. Thank you so much for giving us your time today. And please keep up the good work. And thank you for doing what you do in our community. It's amazing.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Hey, Tyler, you want to close us out with one more?
Sure. Yeah. There's this old Woody Guthrie song that I have to play for you.
I love it. Take it.
I ain't got no home, I'm just rambling round, just a wandering worker, I go from town to town. Will the police make it hard wherever I may go? And I ain't got no home in this world anymore. My brothers and my sisters are stranded on this road. It's a hot and dusty road that a million feet have tried. A rich man took my home and drove me from my door, and I ain't got no home in this world anymore. was farming on the shares always. I was poor. My crops I laid to the banker's store. My wife took down and died upon the cabin floor. And I ain't got no home in this world anymore. And as I look around, it's mighty plain to see. This wide and wicked world is a funny place to be. Well, the gambling man is rich and the working man is poor. And I ain't got no home in this world anymore.
Yay. Thank you, Tyler. You sound awesome.
Thank you so
Good
much.
luck. Yeah. Oh, thank you. It was such a pleasure. And Andy, thank you again. It was a pleasure to have you both today. So today's theme is reach. Our potential to be good human beings is limitless. And it all begins and ends with reaching out. Reaching out when you're wrong, reaching out to do something right, reaching out to someone in need, reaching out for that hug when that special someone you love really needs it. Give the type of love that encourages and strengthens a society. Small steps and act of kindness collectively amount to make a huge impact. Don't allow anyone or anything to shift your atmosphere. We can focus on the greater good and positively impact one another by showing gratitude for the blessings we've been granted and for the people who care and who mentor us throughout our journey. To reach is to show yourself just who and what you care about, what issues are important to you, and what significance the people in your story portray. Spreading love and gratitude has an overall positive effect on our planet and also in our personal lives. You never know when someone you love may be hurting. You never know what's behind that smile or what hurt someone's experiencing. By reaching out to others, the universe will water your own seed for you when you aren't strong enough to do so yourself. Reaching out to others helps us to connect and helps us to foster relationships that encourage and that provide us with a meaningful boost when we most need it. In today's world of demanding commitments, make it a priority to show that you care. Pencil it in if you need to, just to say hello, to check in on a friend or a family member. Tell them you just want to let them know that you were thinking about them. Acknowledgement, saying, acknowledging that person on the street, maybe just a wave, even if you don't have that quarter or that dime to spare. In small ways, so much of ourselves we can give if we just choose to. One decision to do something positive for another can change someone's day, change their life. So reach, and may your lives be enriched with ever-flowing kindness in return. Thank you so much for tuning into today's program. I can't believe we're at episode 105. I love seeing the number on our screen grow. It's amazing. Big thank you to Mr. Beau Productions himself for being the wonderful technical support that I so desperately need in putting this together. And to our show's sponsors, Rochester Women Online, Chris Sirianni at itinsightsrot.com, and also Bridgett Hoag at Empire Realty. Shout out to our Patreon sponsors, James Farley at Northwestern Mutual and Maiden Voyage Studios here in Fairport, New York. You guys have an excellent start to your week, and I will see you back here this Wednesday. We have another great show, a whole week of great shows ahead. So stay tuned, and we'll see you then. Bye.